against Bitcoin.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Craft. Your example on craft is even worse.
You finished first. In any of the states around the country that already have price gouging laws in place.
Can I tell you why that those are fallacious and misleading at best? And the craft, your craft analogy is even. Why can't I tell you? Please let me tell you. Craft, you say, was 440% profit increase. The example you used, the prior quarter from the year before, they had a charge of $1.3 billion, an accounting change which wiped out profits. Then they earned what they normally. Let me finish now. They earned.
You didn't let me finish. Look at the data. Come on. We have economic study now after economic study.
This is the way it always goes.
When there is more concentration,
40 million eggs were destroyed because of avian flu.
When there is more concentration in an industry, we have seen much greater increases in
Do you attribute the inflation?
Margins.
That's what you think we need to do to solve it?
They're not random. They are not random one-offs. It is part of the problem when you've got companies that are gouging consumers on prices. Consumers need to know they've got somebody on their side.
Senator,
and
listen, we're trying to help. We're trying to actually do.
Where are you in the 37 states that currently have price gouging laws?
Just quickly on that point, Senator Warren, can you, this is Kelly here, can I just clarify how this would work?
This is the way you never lose an argument, because no one can ever say anything back to you, Senator.
The state price gouging laws take
Yeah, welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. Cut breaking news, culture, matic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. I was watching the first interview with Kamala Harris yesterday on CNN, and what was really interesting, and again, you guys know the deal, we're a Bitcoin show first, so we're not going to talk about all the other issues, but we're going to focus specifically on this idea of people can't afford homes, the so-called price gouging and inflation. And when I was watching that show, and including there was a town hall with Trump, who was more pro-Bitcoin, and Tulsi Gabbard, and someone in the audience actually asked Trump, like, what are you going to do about inflation? And that same interview with Kamala yesterday gave me that same vibe, where like it was like, consumers are hurting right now. Inflation is too high. The price of groceries are too high. And she's like, yeah, you're right. The price of groceries are too high. The world has been psyoped into thinking that somehow money has to lose purchasing power in order to function. Let me make this very clear. Not only is inflation not necessary, it's extremely damaging to society. And every single day that Bitcoin survives, it proves that not only can a money exist that doesn't have inflation, a money can exist that is deflationary, meaning your purchasing power, if you save in that specific money, actually increases over time, making your life less expensive over time. I think it's time that we stop seeking the solutions from politicians, because the sole cause of inflation is government's unique ability to create money for free out of nothing, debasing it. And the reason that they don't like Bitcoin, or some elements of government don't like Bitcoin, is because Bitcoin is a mirror. It literally reflects onto fiat. We gave you that, guys, the example of Nigeria yesterday, how they arrested a Binance executive and they're basically essentially holding him hostage. Bitcoin is a mirror to fiat currencies. And every single day that it continues, every block that is found and it exists, and more people join it, it continues to prove that not only is it better money, but a money can function without government, without the state. And if you've been operating in an environment where you benefit from that wealth through distribution, every time they debase currency, which specifically are governments, it's going to be a little bit of a shock to you, to be perfectly frank. So instead of the divide and conquer, instead of focusing on Trump and Kamala, even though this election is important from a regulatory perspective, there's no doubt about that. You really, like, we are so early in that sense, because the fact that people are still asking politicians to fix inflation, even though it's government debasement that is the cause of inflation, tells me that we have a lot of work to do and that we're still incredibly early. And this is why I believe El Salvador is attacked in the media so much, because you have a relatively very small country. It's a country with a GDP of $32 billion, like, meaning Elon's like net worth is like 200 billion or something like that, right? El Salvador's GDP is 32 billion, just to kind of give you an idea, right? It's a relatively small country. It's a developing country. Why does the worldwide media and the IMF and elements of the US government care so much about what's happening in El Salvador? I believe it's because what Nayib Bukele is doing and what Bitcoin is doing is it's showing the world that there is an alternative route. One of the things that I love that Nayib Bukele said in this recent Time magazine article that claimed that he is an authoritarian, he said that, look, I'm not left or right. Those are terms that came out of the French Revolution. I'm just a little bit different. And that kind of reminds me of the shirt that Opti wears, where it's like, you know, conservative, no, liberal, no, libertarian, no, Bitcoiner. I think Bitcoiners are in their own class, their own political ideology, their own political movement, because money that is not constrained by borders. We can take it anywhere around the world. We can send it anywhere around the world. And it's free of government debasement and government censorship. So I think as the election cycle continues to accelerate, I think it's our job as Bitcoiners, as individuals, really to get that message out there, that it's not left versus right. It's not red versus blue. It's really the party of fiat, the party of green versus the party of orange. Simple as that. And the reason I played you guys that clip of Elizabeth Warren in the very beginning is, like, we're getting to the point where the politicians are basically blaming corporations for raising prices. Like, if you know a little bit about free markets, if a corporation raises the prices too much, unless they have a total monopoly, and even if they have a total monopoly, that's going to create an incentive for other corporations to offer cheaper prices, therefore taking market share from that corporation that's supposedly price gouging. That's number one. Number two, in the history of the world, even back to the Roman era, price controls have never worked, ever. If this top-down system of economics worked, collectivism would work. It would work. North Korea would be a thriving country right now, but it's not. So one of the best non-coercive ways to organize a society is via free market incentives. But this idea that somehow the government is the solution to the rising in home prices, the rising in grocery bills, and somehow electing a certain person into office is going to fix all these problems. Let me tell you guys something. The prices of goods for me have been going downhill consistently since I've adopted a Bitcoin standard in 2016, 2017. Everything has just gotten cheaper, and everything is going to continue to get cheaper. So instead of you waiting around, waiting for a savior to come out and save the day, they never do. Why don't you save yourself? Buy Bitcoin, mine Bitcoin, earn Bitcoin, put that Bitcoin into self-custody, and watch your life improve. A promise is a very strong word, but, you know, put your toe in the water and see if you like it, right? Anyways, I do want to bring up my co-host. He's optimistic today. I do see a smile. Opti, this is where I'm at in my rabbit hole journey personally, that I'm like watching politicians on TV like try to explain and provide solutions to the prices of goods rising in grocery stores, where like no one has the self-awareness, including the people that are conducting the interviews, to be like, dude, it's the money. Like, duh. Like, obviously, right? So anyways, what are we going to talk about during the culture segment?
Yeah. Actually, before we get to that, though, I do want to kind of double down on something you said. You know, you mentioned the shirt that I wear all the time. And I think I picked up this meme from Eric Kaysen, which is like, most Bitcoiners would probably consider themselves like politically homeless. We don't really fall on the left and right divide. It's kind of becoming, I think, clear to me, at least personally, that like libertarianism is not enough either. Like there's a new movement going on, and it is Bitcoin, and it's embracing Bitcoin and the ethos of self-sovereignty and all the stuff we talk about here constantly on the show. And it's really what you said, like, it all boils down to the money and the fact that they can print money. As the saying always goes, you know, follow the money. That's where you get your answers from. And it's absolutely hilarious to see Elizabeth Warren out here on Joe Kern's Squat Box and being like, someone needs to protect the little guy here, like justifying her job. And we're over here like, you guys are printing obscene amount of money. This is what's hurting the little guy the most. And they're never going to hit on this because that is the root problem. They got to obfuscate everything, because if they started to point out that it's all about the money, all about the fact that they can create money out of thin air, that another man has to work for, you know, all the things we talk about here, that we're forced to use a money that's designed to steal from us, it would really blow up their whole charade that is going on right now. And of course, this is basically like the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about. And it's incredible to see them go through these mental gymnastics of justifying their work and their jobs. And it's like, it's all about the money. And then on that note, shout out to Joe Kernan. I absolutely love him. He's by far the best Bitcoin podcaster in the game. Just every single time he's progressively getting better and being more, I don't know, for lack of better terms, like aggressive about things. And you just love to see it, that you can tell that the Bitcoin ethos is catching on in him, and he's starting to really push back against the narratives. And you just love to see that the talking heads out there are waking up to this. And so, Nico, before you go on, guys, today on The Culture, we're just going to do a meme review. You guys have been yelling at me for 3 weeks. We got rug pulled last week. So we're going to go just do a meme review on The Culture. We'll talk about memes. I got some good memes here. And, I'm going to give the audience what they want today, Nico. So it is what it is. We're doing a meme review no matter what today.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, before we get into the show, I do want to give a very special shout out to our lead sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. Buy real Bitcoin, enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and the USA. To get started, all you have to do is you put in your email address. It takes about 2 to 5 minutes to verify your account, and bada bing, bada boom, you're ready to get going. Bitcoin Well is one of the only Bitcoin on-ramps that is automatic self-custody. What does that mean? That means every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. It does not allow you to even leave the funds on the platform. This perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state. Every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn Bitcoin Well points, and you could use those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest. We're going to do one for you guys right now. Get your Lightning wallets ready. First person to scan the QR code wins 500 sats. By the way, every time you toss a coin into the Wishing Well, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. If you use promo code SIMPLYBTC, to sign up to bitcoinwell.com, you get 3 tosses into the Bitcoin Wishing Well absolutely free. All right, everybody, let's move on to the numbers. Lots to talk about. Let's check it out.
Bitcoin numbers.
All right, everybody, I want to tell you guys about Stamp Seed. Usually when you buy a hardware wallet, it comes with a little piece of paper labeled 1 through 24, 1 through 12. And essentially what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to write down your seed words onto that piece of paper. The problem is that that's not the right way to secure your generational wealth. You should definitely, instead of writing it down on paper, which is prone to water damage, fire damage, your dog could eat it, you want to literally proof of work seed phrase storage into a titanium seed phrase storage kit. And that's exactly what the stamp seed is. Literally stamp your seed letter by letter into a plate of titanium that is going to survive the test of time. It's also fireproof. It's waterproof. Your dog could eat it and he's not going to have a good time. You want to stamp your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. The kit comes with everything. It comes with the hammer. It comes with the letter stamping tools. It comes with the plate, everything you need so that your Bitcoin could last generations. They don't call it multi-generational wealth for no reason. Head over to stampseed.com today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 58,110 sats per dollar, 1,721. Block height, 859,107. Blocks to halving, 190,893. Halving estimate, March 23rd, 2028. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,907 BTC. Capacity value, 285 million. Realized monetary inflation, 1.41%. Market capitalization, 1.15 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 6.57%. In the grand scheme of things, Bitcoin is just getting started. Anyways, I do want to talk a little bit about some of the topics that we were talking about in the early part of the show. But first, before we do that, I want to play you a clip from Kamala's first interview on CNN yesterday regarding inflation and the prices being too high. Let's check it out.
Who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president?
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. Literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging.
So, the fact that presidential candidates could do that, and I'm not just talking about Kamala, where people still believe that voting is going to fix the money issue, is a little bit disappointing. Maybe I'm just too far down the rabbit hole, but also tells me that just like, guys, like, ask yourself, like, in your family, in your friends, in your community, like, the more people believe into this, the more people believe into that, the longer it's going to continue and nothing gets fixed. And I'm going to make the case for you guys today that, like, because you could put the political rhetoric aside and you could say, look, price gouging, like, yeah, like, clearly I'll explain to you why I don't think price gouging or quote unquote price controls, which is the solution. It's not that the government's printing too much money. It's that the corporations are just increasing the prices, because they're greedy and all that. But I'll address that in a second. But I don't think addressing that just kind of falls into the political debate. I think we have to identify what the root problem is. The root problem is fiat. You fix that problem, they can't even do that. They can't gaslight you because your money is censorship resistant and your money is protected from currency debasement, especially if you run a node. There's 21 million Bitcoin. Good luck changing the rules. Good luck. Like, this is what makes Bitcoin so special. This is what you have to understand. No other cryptocurrency provides those benefits. All of them are inherently centralized, and all of them, the foundation or the founding team, could change the rules to benefit themselves. Sounds very familiar, right? So anyways, I'm going to make these cases for you guys, which to me as a Bitcoiner are obvious, but we have a lot of work to do. And hopefully you guys share this video, like with this video, engage with this video, subscribe to the channel, get this message out there. Because if you really want to fix the issues and the pains that people are going through in terms of not being able to afford grocery bills or not being able to afford housing, I'm sorry to tell you, but neither Kamala or Trump are going to fix those problems. You can fix those problems today, right now, by choosing to become a sovereign individual and adopting a different currency. You don't have to wait for a politician to come in and save your problems. Anyways, first thing, inflation is not necessary. Second thing, inflation comes from currency debasement, nothing else. 3, Bitcoin is proof that money can exist that isn't inflationary. 4, why? The rules can't be changed and the daily supply mined gets cut in half roughly every 4 years. We read you guys during the numbers what Bitcoin's inflation rate is. It's at 1.41%. A couple days ago, it was at 1.42% or 1.43%. That number is going to go down forever. Before the halving, it was actually like at 3.65 or something like that. And then it got cut in half. And the next halving, this number is going to get cut in half. And then the halving after that's going to get cut in half. So even if governments get fiat money back to the target rate, even though they keep changing the metrics of 2%, Bitcoin's inflation rate is still going to get progressively lower and lower and lower until the end of time. And you're like, okay, Nico, I don't believe you. You are speaking fantasies. This is BS. This is a lie. And I get that. Maybe you're new to the show. I'll show it to you. Check out this website called Price in Bitcoin 21. I use it in arguments all the time. I'm going to put it in the private chat, so Opti puts it in the Rumble and YouTube chat for you guys. Price in Bitcoin is very interesting because you essentially see the prices of goods and services as if they were priced in Bitcoin, not if they were priced in fiat. So when you hear the interviewee asking, hey, Kamala, what are you going to do about groceries? Or, hey, Trump, what are you going to do about housing? You as an individual already have a solution to this, not just in the United States, anywhere around the world. And I have the data for you guys. Let's talk about groceries first. Beef, if you've been saving in Bitcoin, has gotten 90% cheaper over the last 5 years. Eggs, 81% cheaper. Cheese, 80% cheaper. Soybeans, 92% cheaper. Wheat, 92% cheaper. Lumber, 91% cheaper. Milk, 88% cheaper. Orange juice, 24% cheaper. Coffee, 88% cheaper. Cotton, 92% cheaper. Chocolate, cocoa, 84% cheaper. Rice, 79% cheaper. Oat, 91% cheaper. Sugar, 88% cheaper. Corn, 93% cheaper. The longer you save in Bitcoin, the cheaper your life gets. It doesn't even have year 10, year whatever. I'm on year 8. I'm telling you that this is like a cheat code. You want to know why Peter McCormack named his conference cheat code? Is because being on a Bitcoin standard in a fiat world is literally a cheat code. Your life gets cheaper over time, period, full stop. I don't know what else to say. One last thing, I went to do a little bit of research, found this from the Hoover Institute, and I think it was a very simplistic and sophisticated way of explaining as to why price controls don't work. Some economists seem to forget that although inflation is an overall measure of price increases, individual price increases matter. The main problem with price controls is that they prevent prices from rising when demand increases or supply falls. If the government doesn't allow prices to rise in such circumstances, we get shortages and lineups. This is why in a lot of authoritarian top-down control economies, for some reason, they don't have full shelves of supplies. It's the countries that have gone down the free market route that have achieved a lot more prosperity. Anyways, that's what happened in the gasoline market with Nixon's price controls. Now, something to point out, Nixon was a Republican. Again, it's not a Democrat-Republican thing. It's a fiat thing. It's true that price controls will reduce the measure of inflation, but they actually hide inflation. Inflation is, after all, an increase in the cost of living. Most of us would rather buy steak at $10 a pound from the butcher who has steak than go to the butcher who doesn't have steak but is charging $8 a pound. That $8 a pound does not signify a lower cost of living if we can't get the steak. And that's absolutely right. Because what you're going to do if you put price controls is what happens if you're a grocery store or a supermarket and the price control, I'm just throwing numbers out here. I'm just estimating. I have no idea. Let's say a carton of eggs is $10. I have no idea, right? And the grocery store, their cost is $9.50, and they're making 50 cents off the $10 eggs. And they put in price controls. They're like, look, it cannot move from that $10. But now all of a sudden, the grocery store's their cost of eggs is $11. That grocery store is going to stop selling eggs because if it continues selling eggs, it's literally losing money on that transaction. And therefore, that business owner is potentially going to go out of business. This is why price controls don't work, right? So, but again, I can't emphasize that enough. That is just a political argument as long as fiat exists, because you can always gaslight it and you can always take the counter argument. The argument to why inflation is a problem and why price controls don't work is to save enough money that none of this political manipulation affects. And that money already exists. You don't need a politician to come out of the sky, get elected for you to start benefiting from that said money. It's right here. Everything gets cheaper as it relates to Bitcoin. The S&P, gold, oil, don't trust me. Verify this yourself. Don't take my word for it. This is the solution to inflation. And I had another thought last night, and I'll pass it on to Opti. They don't have a response to this. They don't have a good excuse. We have a social contract for income tax. I know a lot of people don't like income tax, but the reality is that it's in law. It was agreed upon. You can talk about how it was psyoped and they were insincere and they started with 3% first and then they increased it, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's in law, right? We never agreed to the inflation tax. That has not been enshrined in law. That hasn't been agreed upon. Fred Krueger commented on one of my tweets yesterday where I said all caps 3 times and money can exist without inflation. He said, Inflation is essentially taxation without representation. And that's the way that you should see it, is that not only are we being taxed on our income and on our property and on our investments and the gains that we make from our investments, but we are also being taxed with the money that we use, and no one knows it. And if we highlight it, we win. Because Kamala or Trump or whatever iterations of future presidents and politicians come, they won't be able to explain that away. They won't be able to just tell you, like, inflation needs to exist in order for money to function. That's what they'll tell you, right? Like, if you don't have inflation, no one's going to spend money. That's what they're going to tell you. The longer Bitcoin lives and operates and continues to thrive proves that theory completely wrong. So Bitcoin is the solution to inflation. You don't need a politician to adopt it. You can adopt it now, and I promise you, wait at least a cycle, which is roughly 4 years, and your life will get progressively cheaper over time. Especially if you take a portion of what you're making every month and you put it into Bitcoin, it's insane. I promise you, you won't regret it. Anyways, that's my take, Opti. I gotta be honest, bro. I saw this and I was just so like tired. I was tired. I was like, dude, are you serious? Like, it's like asking the person who committed the crime if they're going to, like, you know, face justice. Like, it's like if they should, if it's like, you committed this crime, but I want you to fix it too. Like, it's insane. It's naive. And I think it's just a matter of education, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been saying for a while the very simple message that as long as the politicians are out here on corporate media saying this stuff, it just goes to show that most people really don't know what's going on. Maybe, you know, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they're working, you know, paycheck to paycheck just to survive. They don't have the time to look into economics. We weren't taught economics in most of us weren't taught good economics in school. And I think that's by design. If you don't understand how the economy works and you don't understand how money works, you don't understand how finances work, then it's a lot easier to control you. And then, of course, you kind of go back to what Elizabeth Warren was saying. It's like you need to trust someone else to protect you and all that stuff. And those Bitcoiners are like, just saving a better money. It's literally that simple. And I'm really going to latch on to something that Kamala Harris said in that clip, which is she said something about, like, we need to manage the economy better, or mismanagement of the economy is why we're here, or something along those lines. And I would just argue or push back that, like, any amount of management to the economy is mismanagement. Like, no one man or no one group of people should have that much power. And I think the hubris that you see from politicians into the idea that they can manage and control a complex system like an economy, or even in your own country or in the world, just goes to show that they really believe their own farts. Like, they really love the smell of their own farts here, because they really think that if they control the prices of things, like, things will get cheaper. And it doesn't work like that. History has taught us in many examples that it doesn't work like that. And shouts out to Peter St. Onge. She did a really good video. I'll drop it in the chat for you guys here. And he really breaks down this whole price gouging. I would call it a scam. And he really just goes to show that, like, it's going to end up in breadlines. It's going to end up with less products on the shelves, and that's going to be worse for the economy than we are here. Like, put simply, things become more expensive because cost of goods and services are going up, and smart businesses have to keep raising the prices to maintain profits. And when you really look into the numbers here, from what I'm seeing, most grocers or most grocery chains, they only make like 1 or 2% profits on top of the stuff they're selling. So for every dollar, they make like 1 or 2 pennies on it. So if prices are going up, that means, you know, they're going to pass the prices along to you. So as long as they are printing more money and things are getting more expensive and your dollar is getting debased, you're getting poorer. Things are going to keep going up until we get to some hyperinflationary scenario where, you know, we're in Zimbabwe and we're paying millions of whatever dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to buy products. So again, put simply, the money is broken and you need to use a better money to live a better life. And that's what we're all talking about here is you need to save in something that can keep up or rather exponentially explode parallel to the fact that the dollar is, getting destroyed. So like you need to save in something that outbeats inflation. And that's what this is all about. And of course, when we get into economic terms, it's like people's eyes glaze over and they're like, dude, I don't care about this. Like, tell me about the new Taylor Swift song or something like that. Whatever happened on the television. Like, did you watch the game, bro? Like, who cares about inflation? It doesn't matter. And I'm honestly, I'm getting a little black-pilled on talking about inflation all the time, because if people really cared about inflation, then they would obviously wake up and be Bitcoiners. Or rather, again, maybe they just don't understand how inflation works, which is why they're able to go out on television and gaslight us and be like, trust us, bro. Like, we're going to lower prices and yet we're going to print hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars. Like the metric of we print $1 trillion every 100 days should absolutely blow people's minds away and be like, yeah, I need a solution. It's insane. Where we're at right now is insane. And it's very simple. Like they have to print more money. They have to continue to create more fiat dollars to keep the system going. It's on fumes and they got to keep injecting more fumes into the system to keep it going. And all of us Bitcoiners are like, cool story, bro. Like, I'm just going to start saving in Bitcoin and life's going to get better. It's like super simple.
100%. All right, everybody, let's get to news. Lots to talk about.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody. So, I really believe in this kind of theory of central banker politician projection. So they project onto us what it is that they are guilty of themselves. Since Nayib Bukele passed the Bitcoin law, all of a sudden the world did not care about El Salvador, especially when it was one of the murder capitals of the world. They didn't care. El Salvador was irrelevant to them. It didn't even exist on a map. As soon as a president, which was democratically elected, is the most popular president in the Americas with a 90% approval rating, came in to fix the security issue on the ground, all of a sudden, the media started to care. Isn't that strange, right? And then this kind of made me a little bit passionate regarding this because, like, my family's originally from Venezuela, and I've lived in Latin America, okay? And if you live in the West or in the United States and you're like, wow, my government is so corrupt, like, you have no idea what corruption is. I'll say that. And then that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of, like, I've already asked what is money. Now where I'm at in my Bitcoin journey is like, what is government? If like the people in charge, the people in power can't even be honest about inflation, can't even be honest about why things are so expensive, why else should we expect them to be competent in other sectors? And by the way, this is Democrats and Republicans, to be clear, right? So first up, regarding the El Salvador Time magazine article, and of course it's Nayib Bukele, he's wearing a dark suit for the audio listeners, and The front page says how El Salvador President Nayib Bukele became the world's most popular authoritarian. And the name of the piece is called The Strong Man. I react with most popular president in the Americas is authoritarian. Is it because he protects private property, eliminates violent crime, and allows the economy to flourish? That's literally the role of government, not chaos, corruption, and theft. And again, this is what I was telling you about projection. Like, this is what is supposed to happen. Like, the role of government is to protect private property. That is literally the whole point. That's why you pay taxes. You pay taxes so that your community and your society is safe. There's a police force that enforce the law, right? There is, like, it's reasonable. Things are kind of taken care of. Like, that's the whole point. But fiat has morphed government to take this new role of, like, we should go and do things above and beyond. Like, the core things. No. All of a sudden, we have to interfere in other people's governments around the world. We have to go to war with other governments. We have to offer helicopter money to our citizens because our citizens are suffering because we're debasing the currency. I don't think you can have an honest, dependable government as long as fiat money is a thing. And I think the reason as to why they're attacking Nayib Bukele is because just like Bitcoin is a mirror, I think Nayib Bukele and what he's doing in El Salvador is a mirror to the leaders in the West. And it's a mirror of anyone who's looking into El Salvador, they're seeing what Nayib Bukele is doing. They're looking at their own leaders and saying, wait a second, like, the United States is significantly wealthier. Why do we still have crime problem? How was he able to figure it out, and how are you guys not able to figure it out? I don't understand. And then it actually reminds me of a quote that Stacey Herbert likes to say all the time, and it originally comes from someone called Frederick Bastiat. And the quote is, "When plunder becomes a way of life, men create for themselves a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it." So you want to, like, understand, think about that for a second. Be like, what do you mean theft? Guys, the entire base layer of society is based on a money that has theft baked into it. And they've psyoped the world into thinking that inflation is somehow a law of nature. Somehow your money has to lose 2 to 3% in purchasing power if you are privileged enough to live in a developed world. If you don't have that financial privilege and you live in the developing world and you're enduring 10, 15, 20% inflation, like, the theft is baked into money. And what Bitcoin proves is that money can exist where that doesn't need to happen. And this is why I believe part of the motivations behind the antagonism against Nayib Bukele by the media comes from a place of fear. Because essentially what he's proving is that things don't need to be the way they are today. And I think that's what it's about. Anyways, I'm going to read one of the passages from the Time Magazine article. It's about a 25-minute read if you want to read the entire thing. But this one was the point to me that really stuck to me. So the question from the reporter to Nayib Bukele was, is it strange for you to see your name across the world now be synonymous with iron fist policies on security matters? President Bukele replies, yes, I never expected to become the reference for iron fist measures. I have always believed that societies progress through a comprehensive approach to problems. I have never been against this. I've said before that crime often arises from a range of factors, usually social. In El Salvador's case, our problems include a lack of opportunities and the destruction of the social fabric. The vast majority of gang members join gangs due to lack of a family, lack of opportunities, and social pressure to join. Then once inside, they were pressured to hurt other people. After hurting the first person, they become desensitized, and then they hurt the second. I understand that if that boy has been stopped young and sent to school, we could have taught him other things, and he might have never become a gang member. He would have never hurt anyone, nor would it have even occurred for him to hurt anyone. He probably would have been a good man. I have no doubt. I accept that the state failed him by not providing him with opportunities or a minimum social safety net. The state was a significant factor, probably the main one, and this young man becoming a criminal. What can I do? I can't go back in time to 1990 and say all these guys are going to become gang members. We're going to take them to school. The governments in the 1990s should have done that. They didn't do it. This is a juvenile social problem that began in the United States related to illegal narcotics, and then it arrived here. It wasn't evil. It wasn't even that bad when the gang started. They had their quarrels between them. Sometimes there was a casualty, but it was not a giant crime phenomenon. Then it became the most dangerous country in the world, literally the homicide capital of the world, with 3 times the homicide rate than Haiti has now. El Salvador has triple the homicide rate per 100,000 inhabitants. I understand that the state failed, which should have never happened. However, the criminal who hurt 10 people, well, this is very, very graphic stuff. I don't know if it's YouTube friendly. Anyways, Nayib Bukele continues to explain essentially that this was a problem that happened because the country of El Salvador failed the youth. And the youth didn't feel like they had an opportunity but to resort to crime. And essentially, at the end of the article, he explains that if any country can address these issues sooner with preventative solutions, it would be more noble, better, and have more lasting results. It's commendable and beneficial if they can achieve that. We couldn't do it. Now that we have brought peace to the country, we must invest in youth and children to prevent further issues. This way, we can avoid another president needing to impose an exceptional regime in 15 to 20 years and arrest 1% of the population again. Hopefully, it won't be necessary in the future. We aim to lay the foundations for a peaceful society similar to developed nations, not because of their prison systems or punitive policies, but because their societies function effectively. So what's really interesting about this is he was tasked with a problem. He found a solution to the problem, and the solution is multifaceted. It's like, we obviously have to jail the people that are committing the crimes, but we also have to create a positive environment so that future generations don't feel like they have to resort to crime in order to get ahead. And this is what gets lost in nuance, right? Like, I'll be honest with you guys. Like, if this is considered an authoritarian or a strongman compared to the chaos and the corruption and theft, like, and again, coming from someone who's from Latin America, you don't see this. What you see in most Latin American countries is a lot of violence, a lot of crime, a lot of corruption. What I see here is order, peace, opportunity for families, for businesses to thrive, opportunities for the youth. And if that is labeled as authoritarian, like, I think that's some mislabeling. I think that's some projection. And if you take a look at the data, I mean, it speaks for itself. The GDP of El Salvador, look, roughly where Nayib Bukele, this literally went up, like a hockey stick up type of thing, right? If you take a look at the crime rate, back in 2015, there was 106 homicides per 100,000 people. Today in 2023, there's 2.4. So it decreased dramatically.
My power went out, so I'm going to be using my laptop microphone. If you compare and contrast that with what is happening in Venezuela specifically, and how the media is treating Venezuela. Hold on. Did I freeze, Opti? No, I just can't hear.
No, you're here.
I just can't hear. That's all good. Sorry, guys. The power went out. I am rolling with the punches. Anyways, if you see how the media treats Venezuela, and I would say, as a Venezuelan, that we have to do it live, Opti. We have to do it live. Here.
Woof, that was interesting. First power surge on Simply Bitcoin Live from Puerto Rico. Okay. Now, if you compare and contrast that, how the media treats Venezuela, like, okay, Venezuelan president bans X for 10 days over Musk row. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro has signed a decree blocking access to social media platform X, formerly Twitter, for 10 days following a public spat with owner Elon Musk. The two men have traded barbs since Mr. Maduro was declared the winner of the last month's disputed presidential election. Mr. Musk has described the Venezuelan leader as a dictator and a clown, while Mr. Maduro has accused Mr. Musk of inciting hatred. So, now let's check out this Fox News article. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro claims election results victory, but refuses to publish results. U.S. says results do not reflect the will and the votes of the Venezuelan people as protests spread across the country. Why is Nicolás Maduro not getting an article on Time magazine calling him a dictator and strongman? Why is Nicolás Maduro referenced as a president, and why is Nayib Bukele referenced as an authoritarian? And then of course it reminds me of, once again, Nayib Bukele's article. They're willing to, this is Nayib Bukele's words, not mine. They're willing to fight, lie, smear, destroy, censor, confiscate, print, and do whatever it takes to maintain and increase their control over the truth and everything and everyone. So, and then he explains at the very top, the most vocal detractors of the Bitcoin law, the ones who are afraid and pressuring us to reverse our decision, are the world's powerful elites and the people who work for or benefit from them. And I would like to make the case that as long as society is on a fiat standard, this quote from Frederick Bastiat applies. When plunder becomes a way of life, men create for themselves a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it. And it fundamentally boils down to that. What is happening in El Salvador is a mirror. And you're embarrassed, honestly. If you're looking at El Salvador and you're like, if they could pull it off, because that's what people are thinking, right? And then the wording, right? I would say, from my perspective, Venezuela has a population of 28 million people. 7.7 million have fled in the last 15 years due to the current people in power there. Isn't that authoritarianism? Isn't that dictatorship? They're about to make X in Brazil illegal. And they froze the accounts of Elon Musk regarding Starlink. Isn't that authoritarian? Isn't that a dictatorship? I don't see Nayib Bukele kicking out X. I don't see him banning YouTube. I don't see him banning social media platforms. What is the approval rate of Nicolás Maduro? What is the approval rate of Biden? What is the approval rate of the president in Brazil? What is the approval rate of Bukele. Like, so it's kind of like they're accusing him of what it is they are guilty of themselves. And that not only tells me that we're winning, but that they're also scared. And they're scared because I think that just like Bitcoin, that the longer Bitcoin continues to exist, remaining decentralized and secure, and the supply cap stays the same, and as long as El Salvador continues on its current path, it's essentially showing the world that things don't need to be the way they are today. That's why they attack Bitcoin. That's why they attack El Salvador. And that's why we're winning. And we're going to continue to win. Because our system is not a system based on coercion. Our system is a system based on incentives. So I would say keep on the pressure. Your homework this weekend is educating your friends and your family, your neighbors, your community on inflation, the scam of inflation, and the fact that inflation doesn't need to isn't necessary in order for money to function. Because I think that once a big portion of the world wakes up to that reality, I think we could actually truly effectuate change. What is Kamala's quote?
Unburdened by what has been, or something like that.
Be unburdened by what has been. Let's be unburdened by inflation, but let's be unburdened by the inflation that what has been. And let's head into something that's not unburdened, I guess, which is Bitcoin. Anyway.
You sound exactly like her, bro. That was great. That was great.
All right, Opti. Short bit.
Yeah. I want to get to the memes. Look, Bukele isn't perfect, nor do I think he thinks he's perfect. But having some leaders with principles and a backbone would benefit other countries, especially our own here in America. So I'm not surprised by this Time article. I would argue it's a hit piece. That Bastiat quote, I think, is very on point here. I think it's becoming very clear, at least to us Bitcoiners, it's still probably not a part of the normal conversation, but our government is a kleptocracy. They are not here to protect us. They are not here to serve us. They're not even doing anything that's good for the people that they're supposedly here to represent. They are basically stealing as much as possible, as quickly as possible, and creating laws to justify inflation. That theft via a lot of mechanisms. And, you know, Bastiat is a great economist, a great thinker. I would highly recommend you go read some of his work. He's able to explain where we are right now very eloquently and simply for everyone out there to get, but pure and simple. Strong men are obviously going to be villainized by weak men, and we are living in a society controlled by weak men. This is where we are right now. This is why we are in the dire situation that we are in and we're facing right now, is because the people that in power are, you could argue that they're sociopaths, or you just argue that
we are sociopaths.
Yeah, apparently we're the psychopaths here. The projection is strong here, but it's becoming very clear that we are in a situation right now. It's a classic, the weak men create bad times create strong men create good times create weak men. It's the classic meme over and over and over again, just replaying throughout the whole history of man. I constantly have this framing in my head that most of human history is just one long story of how the best to organize a huge mass of populations. And now we're getting into a new era, and hence why we constantly hit on this idea that Bitcoiners are essentially politically homeless. We're not conservative, we're not progressive. We would argue that this isn't even a libertarian movement. This is a Bitcoin movement. It's about fixing the money. And once we can get that done, once we can fix the money, then we can look at other things, because it all starts with the money. It all ends with the money. So this is why you're seeing that Bukele gets a lot of flack. So love him or hate him, Bukele has turned his country around, and only time will tell who is correct. And personally, I would love to see some leaders with some backbones and some principles. And yes, you can criticize him. You can criticize any leader. I think that's the whole point of a government that is ruled by its people, you're not going to be popular amongst everyone. And I don't think you need to be. But as long as you are trying to minimize the damage that you do wholesale, I think that that is a good thing. And we're going to continue to see these kinds of hit pieces amongst a lot of Bitcoiners. Nico's been saying it for a minute that on the show, we're going to get to a point where they're saying, Bitcoin is a danger to democracy. We're already at the point where they're saying, Bitcoiners are psychopaths, we're illiterate, we're sadists, we're narcissists. And so it's really just projection to avoid people realizing the root problem, which is the money is broken, that we need a better money. Anyways, I could probably keep ranting, but I do want to hit on memes. It's Friday. Let's end the show with some good vibes here. So let's hit the memes.
Let's do it. All right, everybody, let's hit the meme review.
The Daily Culture.
All right, man. We got a meme review special during the Daily Culture. But first, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about the Orange Pill app. Stack friends who stack sats. Join the 12,233 Bitcoiners that are currently on the Orange Pill app. Stack friends who stack sats. Join the Bitcoin social layer. And of course, that is the Orange Pill app. It is the #1 resource for Bitcoin-only events. And also, if you're trying to connect with other Bitcoiners near you, the Orange Pill app is perfect for you. Why? Because they have a really clever geographical feature. So if you're traveling, if you go to a new city, you don't know anyone around you, you pull up the Orange Pill app, bada bing, bada boom, and you will literally see, okay, there's Bitcoiners around you. And you could literally DM them, you can connect with them. It'll show you the events that are near you as well. It's also the best way to reach me directly. You don't really answer Twitter DMs these days or emails. If you want to reach me, send me a message through the Orange Pill app. And when I say that, I mean, like, bro, if I get a random email, it just floods my inbox, not really answering. Anyways, but if you do want to ask me a question, download the Orange Pill app, and I take the time to answer every single one of you guys. So we got a meme review special during the culture. Opti.
It's here, guys. I know it's been a while. I know. Yell at me all you want. I get it. I tried to do it last week. We got rug pulled. But it's here. This is part of the culture. As a Bitcoiner, we always say the classic meme that we've created for the meme review. Tweets are the bullets, metaphorically. And memes are the artillery, metaphorically here. But it just goes to show, especially with the bit that we just left, that there is, all the news of last week as well. Here, let me full screen myself a little. All the news last week as well, that there is an active attack on free speech. And if you understand the basic, I don't even know if this is the right word, but the basic etymology, maybe you guys can fact check me right now, or what the word fiat means. It literally means by decree. So we're seeing right now, and I think that the game is unraveling here, and more people are waking up to the fact that essentially government words is our money. Government debt is our money. What the government says is the law of the land, which is, of course, very rudimentary and elementary thought here. But what is really becoming more and more prevalent and more obvious to people, especially if you're listening to people like Mike Benz, is that the corporate press is one and the same thing, and they're an extension to the federal government. And this is why a lot of people are probably getting angry about the Kamala Harris interview and all of the stuff we're seeing from the political parties, is that they are gaslighting us, and we have weapons here. Again, metaphorically here, we have tools in our tool bag to combat that. And that is peer-to-peer communication. That is us ridiculing the stuff we see coming out of the corporate press, and us making some funnies so friends' heads stay in the game. This is what we do here on the battleground of the internet of free speech. And this is the whole power of memes. You have to put truth in memes for them to resonate with people. And this is what the whole point of the meme review is. I know we've been pulling it back a little bit so we can jam the show with more value for you guys, but you guys love the meme. So here we're back with the memes. Okay. So obviously the first meme, I think all of us Bitcoiners, at least Bitcoiners that have been here for a while, we're all getting mad and angry with Dennis. Shouts out to Dennis, 58K gang out there, because he seems to have had the best Bitcoin price predictions, and they literally just like pulled it out of thin air. And it's the most prevalent price prediction we've had in a long time. It's the fact that we are ranging in this 58K gang. Okay, so first one is BTC Padre, and he just puts a laughing emoji. And this is from The Simpsons, and it goes 0 days without Bitcoin being at 58K, and he's pulling the zero number with the zero number, because it seems every time people are predicting like, oh, this is the last time we're in 58K, we just finally get back to 58K. So there's a magnet at this 58K price. Maybe Dennis is a whale out here, and he is the one manipulating the market. He is the one that's pushing the price back to 58K so that he can make this 58K meme last forever. But one day we will break out of it. Okay, next one is Alan B. Watts. And of course, on Friday, or rather over the weekend, there was a big move on Twitter about people sharing their MPubs and people trying to connect on Nostr. We've constantly talked about the idea of finding tools that you cannot be censored from so that you can maintain your sovereignty. Of course, Bitcoin is one of those tools, having sovereignty in your money and who and where you can transact with. The next one is one of Bitcoiners' favorite pet project right now. And by pet project, I don't mean to denigrate what Nostr is doing. It just doesn't have the reach that Twitter does. And as much as Elon has freed the bird on Twitter, you can
your mic sounds muffled, Opti.
Oh, am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. As much as people may argue that Elon still might censor some stuff on Twitter, there are other protocols out there. There are other mechanisms. It's just people don't know about it. And so this next one is by Alan B. Watts, and he goes, join me on Nostr, sends his NPub, drop your NPub below and I'll follow. And of course, he's using a classic cliche Matrix meme here, but he's got the Bitcoin pill, the orange pill on one hand, and the Nostr purple pill on the other hand. And it goes sovereign individuals with laser eyes. And then we have Morpheus here. Wait, did you just take both pills? Yes. Make sure you are diversifying your communications platforms, your social media. If you don't have a Nostr, jump on Nostr. Everyone's yelling at me because I'm not really posting on Nostr. I barely post on Twitter anymore, but I do have a Nostr because I see the use case of it. Okay, next one is by Shara Hodl. And he's got the classic guy, pointing at his head meme here, like, think this through. Think about the second order effects here. And he goes, they know Bitcoin is going to 100 million and that we're never selling. That's why they're going to tax unrealized gains over 100 million. Bars, Shire, borrows here on this one. Okay, next one. This is for all of my Bitcoin plebs out there. This is for everyone stacking as much as humanly possible. You got to make fun of yourself sometimes. So I absolutely love this one by our boy, Gigi Lesmer. And he goes, he isn't broke. He's just waiting for big institutions to buy his magic internet money. And this is the classic scene from Spider-Man. I love this one. This one hit me in the fields. I felt that one. I felt that. All right, this next one is really cool. This is a visual. It really had nothing to do with Bitcoin, but I like how Mohegan BTC kind of reframe this. And he goes, the longer Bitcoin ranges, the more explosive the move up will be. And he's got the namaste emoji. So the longer Bitcoin stays in 58K, the more explosive the move will be once we get out of 58K. And there's this visual here of a ball getting bigger until, it fully breaks out of this little circle and it bounces around. And you can think of it as the Bitcoin price. It ranges, it goes up, it goes down, it bounces. And then eventually it gets so big that it's going to explode. The gradually then suddenly meme playing out in a visual way. I like this one. This one was great. Okay, next one. We talk about this constantly, and really it's kind of fitting considering what we saw on that CNN interview earlier. So we got Cluckies, at Cluckies _ on Twitter, and goes, the Cantillon effect, hashtag Bitcoin fixes this. And we have some hands here, and we have the top hand. You remember the classic meme of trickle-down economics? Well, this is what trickle-down economics really does. This is how it really works here. So we have the money creators, the money printers here. They're dropping money, injecting money into the economy. And And then we have the Cantillon insiders. We have the friends of the people that print the money, and they have a big net, and they are scooping up most of the money. And then some of the money is getting through in the net, and that would be maybe some of the entrepreneurs out there that are creating things that make your life better. And they're scooping up some of the money. They get the money after the friends and families of the money printers do. And then through that net, after all of that has been sifted out, you and I, we end up with the crumbs and the coins at the very bottom. This is a great visual of the economy and the world we live in. Okay, this next one is great. I love this one. Parikh Patel, CFA. He's a troll account, but he trolls finances a lot. I really like these visuals. This is like a whole thread of them. I'm just going to do the first one. So the world economy explained with two cows. And we got communism. You have two cows. The state takes both and gives you some milk. Next one, socialism. You have two cows. You give one to your neighbor. The next one, fascism. You have two cows. The state takes both and sells you some milk. And then traditional capitalism. You have two cows. You sell one and buy a bull. Your herd multiplies and the economy grows. You sell them and retire on the income. Absolutely love it. This is great visuals here. And there's a whole thread if you want to, check this one out. Go check it out. And then, of course, this is the meme review, and I'm not above nepotism on this one, so I am going to troll here a little bit. I did the classic, mistype crypto for Harris, and I'm using the Anakin Skywalker meme here, and it goes, Kamala as Anakin, and all of us Bitcoiners and everyone else that understands any economics as Padman. So Kamala as Anakin, like doing the smile, and Padman goes, unrealized gains tax will only be for the rich, right? And then Anakin smiles, and Padman goes, right. Well, the chaser to this is this came around on Twitter as well. Someone asked ChatGPT this question. It goes, when the income tax was introduced, what percentage of Americans did it apply to? ChatGPT responds with less than 1%. And then follow-up question, how many Americans does it apply to today? Nearly all working Americans. So to the people that can't see the second order effects of what's going on, yes, they may say that they're only going to tax the really rich with unrealized gains, and it's never going to go to the average person. Well, not only is there a non-zero chance that our currency is going to hyperinflate so we can all be 100 millionaires. I really like the meme of Bitcoin's going to 100 mil. So eventually, yes. What's the meme? Nothing is more permanent than a temporary government mandate. Well, hey, it might start off that they're only going to tax the rich for unrealized gains, and this is for the good of the economy. This is good for the people. It'll eventually end up that everyone gets taxed. And this is, I hate to use it, but this is the slippery slope that we find ourselves in. But hey, we got tools in our tool bag, memes, Bitcoin in self-custody, eating good and being healthy so you can live a long life. This is the way to win. Get outside this weekend. It is Labor Day weekend. Hang out with your friends and family, touch some grass, all that good stuff. So
that being said, it is Labor Day, but we'll be here on Monday, baby.
Yeah, we'll be here. We'll be here. Okay. All right. Nico, I think you. Oh, I know, actually. All right, guys, drop your meme review score in the chat. And
for example, if you guys are new to the show and you don't know what the meme review is, goes back to Simply Bitcoin's early days where we used to have a meme review every single show. But essentially, Opti and I are going to give the memes a score. The score could be anything that you can think of. It doesn't just have to be a number.
The meme review score is
drop it in the live chat, and we will read it live on the show. So,
all right, I got mine. Nico, do you have yours? Do you need a moment? Okay, you go first.
All right, so I'm gonna give it this this nice little lamp that's attached to the wall. That's for the couch, and you can move it for certain directions. So, it brightens up the room. Literally, that's my score.
Okay. My score is, I forget who gave me this, and I honestly forget where I got this. But shouts out to you. You'll know I think it was at the halving party, because Big Sean gave us those cool, dog tags here. But I got another dog tag, and it is the Genesis block on one side. And then on the back side, it has, in really small writing that I can't read because I'm blind, but it's got a Cypherpunks manifesto. on the backside. So really cool dog tag. I apologies, I
Beautiful.
forget who gave this to me, but a dog tag with the Genesis Walk and the Cypherpunks Manifesto on it.
Beautiful.
Okay.
All right, so let's read through some of the meme scores. Here we go.
I wasn't ready. I guess I'm getting rusty on this meme review. Are you ready, Nico? Are you ready?
Let's hit it. All right, first score by Elaine. Harris and Trump's worlds are going to be bumped. Dems are smoking something, and all their caca is whack. We'll just wait and see because it doesn't matter to BTC.
Elaine getting spicy. Love it.
Satwise Janks, I give the memes a Trump, an RFK, and a Tulsi. Okay, everyone's feeling the political juices. Keith gives the memes a 0.00001% of my Friday payday DCA. All right, appreciate it, man. Did you zap us? The I love Tether meme gets 10 from me. And Phil C, I give the memes only one more month of 58K. Yeah, man, 58K getting strong. XX gives the memes mucho caliente memes. Very good score. I like that score. Bitcoin Morpheus gives the memes a Simply Bitcoin stamp seed plate. Booyakasha. Look at that. Go to stampseed.com today. Use promo code Simply, 15% off. Mikkel gives the memes Nico makes them at night.
I don't get that one. Okay, let's see. Is there some on Rumble? Meme score by Kudis. Meme score Rumble exclusives. Yes.
Put the volume down.
Yes. Rumble exclusives, I think.
Yeah, Rumble. We're working on it. We're going to extend the show probably on Rumble, and then we're going to be a little bit.
Wait, we got a little more. We got a couple more. Okay, Visnock meme score. Only 200 characters on Rumble messages. Meme score, inflation in full effect. Loco TX for the win, 2002. I give the meme review a King Baldwin IV hands up silence.
Wow. Those Rumble scores. YouTube chat. You got the Rumble scores are wilding out, man. Anyways, guys,
I feel that last one.
This has been a crazy week in Simply Bitcoin's history. We appreciate all y'all for sticking around, staying with us, following us to the different platforms. So we're gonna make a major effort to post more we've already been posting content on Rumble. We're gonna put more emphasis on Rumble. We have something in the works for Nostr. And of course, are very thankful for Team YouTube and just YouTube for allowing us to continue to educate the masses on the platform. And really excited to see all the content that we have cooking up. And I'm really excited to see what you guys feel about and your guys' reactions to it, because it's going to be absolutely epic in my opinion. Anyways, guys, this was your Simply Bitcoin Live for August 30th, 2024. I'm your host, Nico. This is my co-host, Optimus Fields. We're Simply Bitcoin Live. Enjoy your weekend. Go touch grass. In my case, touch sand. Enjoy your day. Go into the ocean. Go into the pool. Unplug. And we'll be back on Monday, Labor Day, for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Take care, everybody.
It was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, on a mission to enable independence.